Hi, I'm Ian Anderson, and in this video we'll look at how you can use DriveX, powered by the Academy Award-winning mocha tracking technology, to add tracking to your own custom effects. In Final Cut 10's Effects panel, in the C2 DriveX category, there's a template designed to be edited, called Template Open in Motion. Right-click it and choose Open in Motion. In this template, you'll find a simple placeholder particle effect, just here, which we'll be replacing. There are many suitable effects in the library, so open Library, Particle Emitters, and then Pyro. We're going to go for Corona, so we'll drag that into the track group just next to where the emitter was. This track group is already linked to the position of the track, so we don't need to move these two link X and link Y behaviors. But because we do want to affect the scale and rotation of the tracked element, we do need to make a couple of extra changes. Just here we've got link cell rotation, link scale, X and Y. We're going to move those behaviors from the example particle emitter to the cell inside the Corona object. I'll just open that. You'll see it's there called Blur 13. I'll click on that, shift-click on the last one, and simply drag them all across. Now if we look at these in turn, in the inspector, we've got link scale X, which in this case has already stayed connected to exactly the right thing. We're taking the source parameter from object track to animation for effect, scale and rotation, and we're attaching it by applying it to the object's scale X, which is in this case the particle effect cell. Link scale Y has done the same thing, and link scale rotation has also done the same thing. Now it's important to drag this directly from where it was to the target, otherwise you'll have to relink these parameters, and you'll probably need to link apply first and then source. Just be careful when you're choosing the link cell rotation and scale parameters. The source parameter here comes from track to animation for effect, and while position is fairly straightforward with X and Y, scale and rotation are a little bit different. The scale parameter for both X and Y is linked to the X parameter here. Rotation is linked to Y. So you'll be hooking up both of the scales to X. Just to show you that, here we've got scale rotation on X to link to the scale X parameter, and link scale Y is also hooked up to that same X parameter. The rotation is hooked up to the Y. But for something simple like this, all you needed to do was move these three parameters across from the dummy effect that was in there already. Now that the dummy emitter here doesn't have anything useful on it, we can select it and delete it. In the Emitter tab, which we can get to after we select the particle emitter and click just there, we want to publish several properties of this particular particle emitter. To publish a property, right-click its name, for example birth rate, and then choose Publish. At the very least, we want to publish birth rate, life, speed, color over life, and scale. Scale will already be attached to the scale that comes from the tracked area if we want to use it. Finally though, if we want to be able to fade this effect in and out, we want to go to the Properties panel and also publish opacity. So I'll right-click and publish that as well. We're also going to publish scale at this level. If I go up in the top of the Layers panel and click on Project, and then Project over here in the Inspector, I'll see all the published items. And you'll see here that I've got scale twice. The top one is the cell scale, and the bottom one is the overall scale. So I'm going to double-click the name and just add that to make it a bit clearer. Parameters are added here in the order in which you publish them, and you can drag them to rearrange if you need to. We can scrub through and see what we've got, and of course you could change the effect if you wanted to. One other thing you might want to look at is just to have a quick double check of link cell rotation and scale and see what the scale value here in the behavior is doing. So if you use this in Final Cut and find that it's not scaling enough as the object changes, then you could increase or decrease the scale to change this value to something else. Now that we're done, we're going to use Save As, not Save, and we're going to put this into a category. Now, I've already got one here called C2 DriveX Extras, so I'm going to use that. But if you need to create a new category, you can do that from the end here. I'm going to call this Corona plus DriveX and publish it. Back in Final Cut 10, I can look in the C2 DriveX Extras category of effects and drag Corona plus DriveX to my clip. I can draw a selection over some part of the clip, and then track forward. Just like with Slice X, Track X, and the other DriveX effects, you could manually keyframe if needed, and you've got access to smoothing controls and so forth. Because we've published a number of the parameters of the particle effect though, we can change anything that we've published. So we could change the cell scale to make the flames a little bit bigger, or the overall scale up or down to make it into a very different effect. And you can also use opacity to simply fade things in or out. You also might not want scale or rotation to necessarily be tracked, but you can turn them off if you don't want them. They're on by default, and you can turn them off back in motion as well. You can add mocha tracking from DriveX to any effect that you can apply in motion, both built-in emitters and generators, and any third-party effects that you own. DriveX is available now from CoreMelt.com, including both special effects elements and 3D text. There's a free trial and discounts for anyone who owns Slice X or Track X. Thanks for watching.